Okay, since I've been tracing fuel tank issues this whole time, figured I'd record some of this. So this is an early C6 fuel tank, which is I guess the same as the late model C6, and also very similar to the late model C5. So I'm looking at these two tanks as if we were in the back of the car. So here's the fill neck, which connects to the fill side. And then we have the driver tank and the passenger tank, and this is the crossover tube that sits above the transmission. So the basic way that this works is you have the electric pump only in the driver's side and a jet pump in the passenger side, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. The electric pump powers the internal fuel system, and it basically has a line that goes straight to a fuel filter housing, which is inside the tank. It's one line in and three lines out. The way this works is one of the lines out goes to the pressure regulator, which is in here, and that's your 4-bar regulator. One of the lines connects to the tubes inside of this, which I'll show, and crosses over into the passenger tank and pressurizes the jet pump. And then the third line is this one right here, which is the line that goes out to the fuel rail. So basically, if you have a leak in any of the pressure lines whatsoever, you either won't be able to build fuel pressure or you'll leak fuel pressure after the pump turns off. So the question becomes, if you've never taken this apart, how does this come apart? So looking up at this connector, it's like a quarter turn thing, and you'll have this little like locking mechanism that prevents it from rotating. So I find that the easiest way to actually get this out is to get some tool like a pick, and this is going to be hard to do from under the car, but basically take a little pick, something under here, or a flathead, but you're going to have a fun time trying to get this angle, but you get underneath, basically just kind of pry it out. And the reason why you have to kind of get underneath is you'll see there's this little like recessed area that this locking pin goes in. And once it's out, you can easily just quarter turn. That's all it is, just a quarter turn. And then now this is loose. You have to be really careful because there's plastic lines inside of this metal tank. So when you're removing it, and this is going to be very difficult to do inside the car, you basically have to wiggle, 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 and pull it straight out. You're not twisting, it's just a wiggle to try and loosen it up. So you'll see this. All right. Here's what the inside of the tube looks like. So looking at this, what you'll see are the two lines. The top one is smaller, and that's a pressurized side from the fuel pump that goes to the passenger tank. And the bottom is the return line from the siphon pump. So now if we look into this, let me get some light. If we look inside, you'll see that's where these two lines connect. Now you need to be careful. Sometimes, I'll pull this out, they do just kind of slide right out, and you'll see there's tabs on the top and tabs on the bottom. You do not want to break these. If you break these, you're in a world of hurt, because if it doesn't seat correctly inside of the tank opening, you can see this will basically just press inside the tank, and you won't seat these with the connections inside the crossover tube, and basically you won't have any pressure. So one thing to keep in mind, there's actually, it's really hard to tell, but there's a little like plastic like retaining cap on both of these. You need to be careful when you remove this tube, especially if the tube's kind of old. These plastic caps might actually stick on these, on like the tube. So be aware of that when you do pull it. Mine actually came out and were sticking on the thing. So I had to take it off and press it back in. Okay, so here's another tip. When I removed my tube the first time, these internal lines actually were sticking to it, and it basically made it impossible to try and remove it from underneath the car. So what I ended up having to do was try to find something to you have to be so gentle because these are so fragile. I used a flathead screwdriver, and from the bottom, well, because I was under the car, was able to just barely get this thing up in here. You're just kind of gently wiggling it out. And as you can see, this is difficult to do even though it is loose. But the point is you need to be very gentle. And then once you separate it, then you can remove the tube. can press these in a little bit just so they don't get damaged. But looking inside the tube, you'll notice there's O-rings. There's a green O-ring in the back, a like black plastic ring in between. Focus, please. Black plastic ring between the green and yellow O-rings, and then there is this other like plastic retaining clip. These are just kind of press fit in. They can come out, so you need to be careful with that. If they do come out, all you got to do is basically just press them back in flush. There's no locking clip or anything. I could, if I wanted to, just basically pull these out, clean them off, replace them, and put them back. I've already had this out a few times, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so the passenger tank is the same way as the driver. I already have the locking ring disengaged. Where is it? There it is. You can see it's already removed. And then it's just like a quarter turn twist. It sometimes helps to push in. This is going to be really hard to do with one hand. Just quarter turn. And then again, when you're removing it, not a twist, it's just a wiggle, like an up and down, because it has to come out straight out. So wiggle, wiggle, and then just like that. So this is the line on the inside here that you do not want to damage. You'll notice inside here looks just like the driver tank. So you'll notice that this metal surface here is actually the sealing surface that prevents this from leaking gas, because when you're filling up the tanks, this tank fills up first, and then once it's full, it'll fill over the crossover tube and start filling up this tank. So if these O-rings are damaged, or if that sealing surface on there is damaged, you are going to leak gas. And this is right above your exhaust. Your exhaust basically runs like right here. One thing to note as well when you're dropping the tank is above the crossover tube, you're going to have, I disconnected this side, but basically you're going to have this it's like a vent, and you'll notice this connects on the film thing. There's like a valve or breather here, and that connects to this line. So you basically have to undo this line as you're dropping the tank. So if there's any fuel in it, put something underneath the tank, because once you get this line kind of pop loose, the whole tank's going to want to drop violently, and if you damage this, you're going to have to buy a new tank. But basically, there's a little press release tab here. I find that you just kind of push them together a little bit, press in on it, and then pull off. Again, this looks easy for me because I've had this in and out like 5 times now, so I greased it when I put them back together the last time, so it's like this on both sides. So when you want to go and reinsert this, what I generally would suggest is, one, you need to make sure this is properly aligned in the tank before you put it in the car, so make sure it's fully seated. I also generally take some like petroleum based like Vaseline or something and just line it up, or put some around the big O-rings and also put some along this. The gas will break it down, so it's not a big deal. It'll definitely aid with insertion here. So on this crossover tube, you'll notice on one side, only one side has this alignment marker, at least on mine. So this line corresponds with, you can kind of see it's the bottom, it corresponds with this line right here, and there is only one way this can go in. So you can't really tell, but basically you'll have to do this from underneath in the car, but you'll put this in, and this green line has to be on the very bottom. And what will happen is once you have everything greased up and you have this lined up, again, you're not going to really be twisting it. You're going to just be pushing it straight in. And again, I'm doing this with one hand, and I can't really tell the alignment marker, so maybe you need to be very careful here. And there we go, it went in. Okay, so then once it's in, there we go. Wiggle, 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 and then it goes in. Really hard to do with one hand. And then once this is in, you'll need to take this clip, and since you're going to be doing it under the car, I would highly recommend that you angle it so that you can access it from underneath the car later on, and then it's not too bad, you'll just kind of get it into place, just push it in, and then once it's locked, you rotate this, it doesn't do anything anymore. So here's a new jet pump assembly, and I'll kind of show you how it looks. But It's really basic compared to the driver's side tank, which I'm unfortunately not going to take out for you because it is a humongous pain in the ass to get out and to reinstall with those internal lines. So you'll need to look at another video for that. But generally, here you go. So this basically will sit on the bottom of the fuel tank. You can tell it sits flush, sits right on the bottom of the tank. And what it does is you can kind of see there's this little golden nozzle. It's a small little orifice. It's drilled little hole, and what happens is that line inside the crossover tube that comes in, that line connects to this side right here, and this is pressurized fuel from the high pressure pump. This is a slightly lower fuel pressure regulator. It's a slightly lower pressure than the driver's side tank. It's about 50 to 54 psi, and what this will do is once it sees enough fuel pressure, this regulator will open and pressurize this side right here. It'll pressurize this little orifice, which blows a little fuel stream out into this hole. And what that, it's like the Venturi effect on a carb. It'll suck up fuel here and blow it into this, and this is how the fuel gets transferred from the passenger tank back to the driver. So this is the bigger line, which then I'll show you the lines once we get that one out. But it'll come through here, go to that bigger line, and then get pushed on over here into the driver tank. So this is really basic. Not much to fail on this, so you're probably not going to be having issues with this. If you're having a problem, you probably have a leak in one of the lines somewhere else. But it doesn't hurt to check the lines and make sure there's no cracks or anything. Okay, so I've removed the locking ring and the other vent pipe and the harness from this. So what we're going to see when we open it up is, one, you'll notice it doesn't come out easily, and that's because there's internal lines that you really don't want to damage. So before you start really doing stuff, I'd pull this out just so that way it's not fully seated in there and it has a little more room to wiggle. You can see it's causing this to wiggle. So we want a little bit of flex on this because these lines you cannot buy new anymore. Do not damage it. All right. So I dropped that on my battery. You'll see as I lift this up, this line kind of comes out too. And here we go. Here's the lines, and basically you'll see it kind of sits in the tank like this. I did zip tie this just because I had issues with it getting tangled up in the float. So I zip tied it together just so it couldn't. But basically you can kind of see here. And if I loosely hold it up into place here, you can kind of see this is how it'll go in. So let's reassemble this. To connect the lines, I find it's just easiest to kind of fish them in a little bit here. Get them into the tank, and we're going to drop it on in. Okay, so I lowered the float in first, like sideways like this, and got it in a little bit, and then I was able to pop these lines into place. You can't really do this outside the tank and then drop it in. You have to kind of partially put this in first and then connect the lines. Now you need to make sure that nothing's hanging up on the float. So there's not really any alignment things as you're putting this in, so you can get this wrong. So what you need to pay attention to is up here, at least on the passenger side, this guy is your alignment marker. So I'm kind of glance in there and you can see that the lines are free of the float, and we'll test those in a little bit. You'll see that this is moving as expected. So once you get this down here, the proper alignment is for this vent pipe, basically pop into this line here, and it'll be angled kind of like this, exactly. So let's, gotta put this on first. Alright, trying to do this one-handed. So. Alright, so I got the locking ring on, I got the orientation right. You can tell this is the line that you kind of use. And then I've got the locking mechanism. You can tell it's in this lock. So it is fully locked right now. So now we can take this line and just, you'll see, just like the driver's side, there's two tabs here. So you need to make sure these are not damaged. Put them in, fully seat them. There we go. And now they're fully seated. And then I will Vaseline these up after I clean all this off. All this is going to be Vaseline.